Hello, everybody. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Champions Chat. I am Alex Brasso, aka Big Chuck01. You can just call me Chuck or Alex. Either one of those is fine. And I'm excited to be able to bring this content finally after probably a year of planning it. I've been meaning to get this channel off the ground, but I've never had the final push to be able to do it. So let's talk about that. First of all, I'm sure most of you don't know me because I have not been in the tournament scene for a very long time. I was a player back in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I traveled around the United States, played all the major tournaments, played state championships, regional championships, lots of worlds, and just like a lot of people, I started out in 1999 with base set. I was 12 years old back then, and my neighbor had approached me, and he had shown me some Pokemon cards. And we looked at the cards, we traded, we battled. We didn't even know the rules. We didn't even... I remember he had a Venusaur deck, and I had a Staryu deck, is all I can remember. Staryu and Starmie. And he would just be attaching multiple energy a turn, and I would just be like searching through my deck and picking what cards to... It was a cluster, you know. So eventually, we got wind of a tournament at a place called Amazing Fantasy Books and Comics. That's back when I lived up in Chicago. And we went there one day, and the place was packed with people playing Pokemon. A very small comic book store, but it was filled. Every single table with people playing Pokemon. And that's when I started trading and getting into a little bit. And that's where I met three-time world champion Jason Klaczynski. He pretty much destroyed me the first couple times we played because he was way ahead of me at that time. And we befriended each other. And once we did, we started talking strategy and learning the cards together. And I think you all know the story from there. At that point, we became two of the top players in the world. Both top 10 in DCI rankings, just winning every tournament we went to, traveling all across Illinois, winning tournaments. And it was really good for me. I've always been into competition. As you can see, I'm not the most wonderful physical specimen, so I've got my kicks from playing board games, strategy games, card games, video games, all that kind of stuff. Big into chess, huge into Pokemon, obviously. So throughout my entire teens, I just basically focused on Pokemon. My big break came in 2002 when they had the Pokemon Trading Card Game World Championships in Seattle. At that point, they had the 10 and under division and the 11 through 14 division. And after that was the 15 plus. After those two tournaments were done, they had the 15 plus World Championships, which they called the Professor Championship. And I was fortunate enough with my Metal Chansey deck, after just months and months of playtesting with Jason, to be able to become the undefeated 2002 Pokemon Trading Card Game World Champion, or in this case, Pokemon World Champion, because Wizards, as we all know, in 2003, Pokemon was taken over again by Nintendo. Wizards knew they were on the way out by then, so they didn't put much effort into their prizes. Because not only is Pokemon spelled wrong, but it's got a nice little Futurama quote on the bottom. Funny thing about the prizes for that tournament, I always complained that I won Worlds at the worst time, because when I won it, what I thought at the time, the prizes weren't spectacular. When, you know, Jason and other people won it, they were getting the #1 trainer card, they were getting $10,000 checks and stuff like that. My prize at the time was a sealed box of every set, from base set all the way up to the last Neo. And I complained about it at the time. If I'd kept those things, a sealed box of every original set of Wizards of the Coast, I think I probably actually had the best World Championship prizes. But I was not that's not what this channel is about. I was not an investor or a collector or anything like that as a kid. I was just a straight player. So after the Nintendo took over, I started playing the World Championships. I missed 2004. I played Nationals in 04, but I had some kind of prior arrangement where I wasn't able to play the World Championship. And that was the Gardevoir and Magma. That was the Yamato one. So I didn't really come around until 2005. 2005, I played Nationals, played Worlds, missed the top cut. My best Worlds performance, standings-wise, was in 2006 when I got top 8 with my drag throw deck. Then in 2007, I got top 16 with my Banette deck. And my best overall run was in 2008 when I ended up not even qualifying because I didn't play enough tournaments. So I had to grind in. I played my Empoleon Bronzong deck. And then I went 8-0 in the grinder to qualify for Worlds. And then I went 7-0 in Swiss to start the Worlds weekend off 15-0, which was a great run. I went into top 32 as the number 1 seed. And then unfortunately fell on some hard luck against a Glaceon deck. So after that, I still continued to play. 2009, 2010. I played the Nationals. I made top cuts. I played Worlds. Did well. Finished with winning records. But never really got another break after this. It just kind of ran bad, you know. In 2011, that's when I'm grown up, I ended up moving down to Florida. From Chicago to Florida. I did I think it was a 26-hour drive. And at that point, I went to poker dealer school. That's my profession right now. I'm a poker supervisor and a poker dealer. And if you ever get in the casino industry, one of the first things that you need to know is you'll never have another weekend off for the first 5 years you work. Once you start working, there's a list of people out the door at the casino that are trying to get weekends off. So once you start, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, automatic. So in 2011, I got into that industry, and it made it very, very difficult to play Pokemon tournaments because I was just always working every weekend. And as we all know, every Pokemon tournament is on a weekend. Also, I was fortunate enough in poker dealer school to meet the love of my life, Waruni. And this Monday, actually coming up on Monday, January 4th, will be our 9-year anniversary, which is awesome. So in 2011, started the career, started the whole grown-up family thing, and just Pokemon kind of fell by the wayside. My last official tournament was on, I think it was February 2013. I played the Klaczynski Open when I went up to Chicago to visit family. Jason had rented out a convention center room and hosted a tournament, which was a really cool thing. And there's actually a game of me playing Dustin Zimmerman on Twitch, which Kyle Sukovich narrated, which is pretty funny. He referred to me as old school versus new school. I was the old guy, and Dustin was the up-and-comer. So I found that kind of funny because I was in my 20s. It's kind of weird being old school in your 20s. After that tournament, I did keep up with all my friends, but that was it. From 2013 to 2020, no more Pokemon. Just work, 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 work. Work, family, work, family, work, family. Flash forward to January 2020. I was working 7 days a week and had no real time for any other hobbies, you know. But then the whole COVID thing happened. And we all got a lot of free time out of nowhere. So in about March 2020, Jason had messaged me and said, hey, you got all this free time now. There's this new app called TCG1 on the computer. You should start playing old formats with me and the guys. You know, I hadn't played Pokemon in so long, I wasn't very interested at first. But then they got me into it. Sammy, Jason, Cena, a lot of the old school guys. I started playing base to Neo, base to Rocket, Prop 15, EX formats, and it all came flowing back. All the nostalgia, all the good stuff. And that's what really, you know, gave me the boost to start making this content is over the pandemic, you know, just having the free time and getting back together with my friends and having access to play old formats. It really motivated me. Quick shout out to my friend Brian Gelrond. he actually gave me a little kick in the butt too. He had called me over the pandemic, seeing that Pokemon was kind of blowing up and wanted to, he knew that I had played and wanted to get some info on it. And I told him everything I could, told him my story. And he's like, hey man, you should just make a YouTube channel or something. Get your name out there. Get people, get back into it. And, I kind of laughed it off at first. But, the more I talked to him, the more I'm like, yeah, I should get this Champions Chat thing going. And so shout out to Brian for giving me that last little boost I needed to get that content out. That's my quick little thing for him. Back to TCG 1. So I'm back united with my people. I've got plenty of time to play. And just tournaments. We started playing tournaments. Jason's got this site called, he doesn't have it, but there's this site called Challenge where you can build tournaments and keep results. And, all this stuff just really, really opened up those old pathways and got me back into it, and it's really exciting. So that's what I've been doing for the last 8 months, is just playing old school Pokemon. Still working. My casino job is back open. I've been collecting too. I've been doing some of the new sets, the modern sets, all that stuff. But I really, really regrew my passion for old Pokemon. So that's what's going to happen in this channel. We're going to talk about old competitive Pokemon. We're not going to talk about base set first edition Charizard and how that's worth $500,000, sealed boxes. Maybe someday. Maybe I'll eventually get to the whole market thing, but I'm not the guy to talk to for the market stuff. That's going to be, the E4 guys or the Leonharts, that kind of stuff. I'm a competitive guy. I want to talk about what I know, and what I know is vintage, old school, competitive play. So let's just get right into that. That's why you're all here. That whole prelude. Thank you for listening to my story. Now let's get into what we're here. Base set. Base set came out in January 9th, 1999. Hey, January 9th. That's actually my wife's birthday, so that's interesting. 102 cards in that set, and it's the set that got everything started. Only 3 types of cards. There's no Prism Stars, there's no VMAXs, there's no supporters. We got energy cards, Pokemon cards, and trainer cards. That is it. Energy powers up your Pokemon. Pokemon do the work. Trainers, just play it from your hand to the discard pile and do what it says. Just ABC, simple as 1, 2, 3 format. So, oddly enough, the cards that are good in base set are the cards you don't want to pull from a booster pack. When they do these openings online, these base set first edition pack openings, I got the Charizard first edition, the Venusaur, the Blastoise. Yeah, that's not going to work in this. You want those bad pulls. When they are sad facing, I lost all my money because I pulled an item finder. That's exactly what we want to pull. We want to pull the item finders and the Electabuzzes. So that's actually really cool in terms of base set because, you can't lose when you open a base set pack. Either you get something that's really good for competitive play, or you get something that's worth a lot of money. It's an interesting line of thought. But because base set is so simplistic with the 3 types of Pokemon cards, energy, trainers, and Pokemon, the strategies are actually pretty straightforward too. Speed. Speed is the #1 strategy. There are essentially 3 kind of decks in base set that I'll touch on, with one of them being the best and the other 2 kind of, existing, being there, but not holding a candle to the speed. Let's talk about the 2 that exist that aren't the best. I like to call them all-in decks. You could call them cheese decks, you can call them whatever. I call them all-in decks because they are basically playing a strategy where they're just all in that turn, and if their opponent draws out, catches something, game over. All-in decks utilize a card called Electrode and a card named Lass. I'm sure you know both of those cards if you played old school. Lass and Electrode. Electrode has a Pokemon power called Buzz Zap, where once per turn you can knock it out, your opponent draws a prize card, and then you can attach it to one of your Pokemon as 2 of any energy type of your choice. I think you pick the type first, which is odd. It's not like other Rainbow Energy cards. You pick your type first, and then it's that type for the rest of the game, 2 energy. Last, your opponent shuffles, not your opponent, both players shuffle all their trainers from their hand into their deck. So both players show their hands, all trainers into the deck, gone. These all-in Electrode decks are basically just trying to get something like an Arcanine or a Zapdos, some giant Pokemon. They're going to knock out their Electrodes, attach them as energy to this big Pokemon, and they're going to last you. They're going to take away your energy removals, take away your item finders, take away your Oaks, and they're going to hope that that single Pokemon, with all the energy and stuff attached, now just goes through all your stuff in 3 consecutive turns. And just knock out, knock out, knock out, and you don't draw out. The problem with this strategy, like I said, is you are all in once you do this. If your opponent draws an energy removal to get rid of that Electrode, a super energy removal to get rid of the other energy attached to it, an Oak, a Comp Search, an Item Finder, all these things just end the game immediately. Because once they go all in and they give you the prize cards and they dedicate to this one Pokemon, the opponent gets out of that pickle. You can't do it again. You can't do it twice. It's just game over. You're not going to win the game when they draw out. So that's why I call it an all-in deck. You're playing your cards, you're oaking, Electrode, last, that's it. All in the middle. If they catch something, you lose. It's over. I don't like that strategy. I'm not a fan of that strategy. My whole thing throughout my life is tactics, long-term. I want to be able to outthink my opponent. Those decks don't let you outthink your opponent. Those decks, game gets decided by the top of the deck, and that's silly. So not a fan of the all-in decks. They can win, of course. I've lost to an all-in deck, but they're going to be massive underdogs. They're not going to win every single time. They're not going to win half the time. They might win 30% of the time. And if you're going to win a tournament, you can't play a deck that wins 30% of the time. That's not how it's going to work. You can, sure, variants. You can win 100 games in a row, technically, but not my style. The other archetype that exists, let's talk about Rain Dance real quick, actually, too. Rain Dance falls into the all-in category, in my opinion, because I got a lot of people asking me, hey, I actually got a couple messages. When you talk about old formats, we talk about Rain Dance. We'll talk about it during Fossil. When the Fossil comes out, a lot more routes of victory are open for Rain Dance. But for now, Rain Dance and base set only is an all-in deck. You're getting the Blastoise, you're putting 5 energy on it, you're lasting. And if your opponent draws out and is able to Thunder Shock you, or Thunder Punch you with a couple plus powers, or just super energy removal, game over. Rain Dance is an all-in deck. I'm going to stay away from it in base set only. The other archetype is Stall decks. Stall decks utilize Alakazam, which is as many times as you want during your turn. Move a damage counter from one of your Pokemon to another. You use this with Chansey. Chansey is a 120 hit point basic. Put as much damage on it as you want. Stall decks are okay, but they just don't apply any pressure at all, and that's a big no-no for me. In Pokemon, you always want to be applying some sort of pressure to your opponent. And just sitting there passing and moving damage counters around, that is going to allow your opponent to do whatever they want without any pressure. 60 cards in the deck. You get a turn 1 Alakazam Chansey, awesome, great, good for you. Your opponent gets to sit back for 40 turns to just do whatever they want, easy breezy, no pressure whatsoever. If you start building up something, they got energy removal, they got super energy removal, you're not lasting them. That's not a last deck. And again, I just can't play a strategy like that where my opponent just gets to do whatever they want. That's not me. So we're going to talk about the number 1 deck, and that's Haymaker. If you know anything about old school Pokemon, you've heard the word Haymaker. Haymaker is Hitmonchan and Electabuzz. These 2 cards are iconic in the base set series because they dominated. Actually, they dominated incorrectly for a very long time, but they did dominate. They are the best deck in base set only, yes. When we get the Jungle and Fossil, we'll talk about how we thought that was the case growing up. Our minds evolved over the years, and that's not the case anymore. But they are iconic for being just the deck for the first 2 years of Pokemon. Hitmonchan and Electabuzz. 70 hit point basics, 1 energy attacks, multiple energy attacks. 70 hit points is really good back then. I know it's not like today where you have an Eternatus VMAX that does 270 damage turn 2 with 340 hit points. This is good. 70 hit points and 1 energy 20 was really, really good in base set only. It's a different era. I would think about it maybe like Babe Ruth versus Mike Trout kind of thing, you know. Maybe Babe Ruth wouldn't be so good today, but in his time, he was a monster. Haymaker decks are all basics. And the thing about all basics is you have a lot of room in your deck for anything else. A standard Haymaker deck is going to look like 12 Pokemon. I'm going to say 4-4-4 with 4 Hitmonchan, 4 Electabuzz, and 4 of other. We'll talk about other later. 16 energy is typical, and that leaves you room for 32 trainers, which are going to be Oaks, Bills, Comp Searches, all these things that are going to make you consistent and allow you to go through your deck and do whatever you want. And consistency, meaning you accomplish what your deck wants to do, is the most important thing in Pokemon history. If you talk to any top-tier player ever, the number one rule in making a Pokemon deck is consistency. You could theoretically have a Charizard Venusaur deck where you put all this grass energy in play, and then you can move the grass energy to Charizard and energy burn. Oh, let's throw Alakazam in that deck too, you know, in case they damage your Charizard, and throw some Chanseys in there too to put damage on the Chanseys. So now you got your Charizard active with the 4 grass energy that you can move around as much as you want. You got the Alakazam to move those damage cards around. Great, you beat every single deck in the game. Awesome. Not happening. Inconsistent. You are never, ever, ever going to get all those things out against a deck that's constantly applying pressure, removing your energy, gusting. Man, imagine how many cards that would be dedicated to get all this stuff out. It's not happening. So the number one rule for making a Pokemon deck is consistency. And that, along with the existence of energy removal and super energy removal, makes it essentially impossible to play anything other than Haymaker in base set only. Which is, I want to say, bad, because, you know, Pokemon isn't necessarily supposed to be a hardcore, crazy, competitive game. It is for a lot of people. It was for me. But you would like some balance of being able to play your favorite Pokemon in your deck and also win. One of the big downsides about old school Pokemon is you couldn't play your favorite Pokemon and win, unless your favorite Pokemon was Hitmonchan, which I don't think many people have that. You know, a lot of people's favorite Pokemon was Charizard, Ninetales, Venusaur, Blastoise. These cards just, unfortunately, aren't the best cards for their time period. And that really turned a lot of people off in the tournament scene. Some kids would go to the tournament with their Charizard deck and, you know, just get crushed by guys like me and Jason. And that's probably unfortunate. I say probably, you know, because who knows? Who knows what the intention of the existence of the Pokemon trading card game was for. But, yeah. Consistency and basics allow you to pretty much steamroll any other deck that, you know, tries to get fancy on you. So, what makes up a Haymaker deck? Like I said, 4 Hitmonchan, 4 Electabuzz, and 4 other. When I say the other, I'm talking about something that is going to be good against Hitmonchan, because Electabuzz is weak to fighting. Hitmonchan, 1 fighting energy, 42 Electabuzz. Not good. So we're going to need something to deal with Hitmonchan. There are 2 things in base set that can deal with Hitmonchan. Doduo and Farfetch'd. They both have fighting resistance, and that really puts a damper on Mr. Chan, because it's really hard to get 3 energy on something in base set because super energy removal and energy removal. And if they do manage to get it, special punch for 40, 30 resistance, they're doing 10 damage. Not going to cut it. So a lot of base set comes down to these Haymaker mirror matches where you're trying to put yourself in the correct rock, paper, scissors position. When I say rock, paper, scissors, I'm talking about Hitmonchan, Electabuzz, and the fighting resistant card. I'm going to just say Doduo. For me, Doduo is the better choice than Farfetch'd. The reason why is Doduo has free retreat cost, which means it can come in and come out as much as you want to get into that spot you're looking for. It has a 1 energy attack that does flip 2 coins. For each heads it does 10, so you're probably doing about 10 damage each time, which is enough pressure to set up some later on knockouts, some good increments, save you plus powers. But the big thing is that free retreat cost, which saves you the energy. If you have Farfetch'd and they get the Electabuzz out, you're going to have to retreat and lose that energy. By keeping that energy in play, you can reapply the pressure later on with that same Doduo, and you also have an energy you can use for super energy removal now, which is gigantic. You definitely want that. So for me, Doduo is the much better choice than Farfetch'd. So a Haymaker deck's going to start out with 4 Electabuzz, 4 Hitmonchan, and 4 Doduo. And like I said, you're trying to get into this rock, paper, scissors advantageous spot every time. Doduo beats Hitmonchan, Electabuzz beats Doduo, Hitmonchan beats Electabuzz. You ideally always want the Doduo against the Hitmonchan, the Electabuzz against the Doduo, and the Hitmonchan against the Electabuzz. You just want to be in that spot. So we're going to play those 3 Pokemon. We're going to max out at 4 copies of each for consistency. You want to have those at all times. And then we're going to play enough energy. Typically 16 plus energy retrievals is enough to be able to survive that onslaught of energy removal and super energy removal, while also being able to drop an energy every turn. And, you know, I blanked out. We're going to play all the trainer cards, the consistency things, the Oaks, the Bills, the Comp Searches, the Item Finders, to just constantly be able to impose this will upon people at all times. So, let's talk about the top 5 Pokemon in base set. Then we're going to talk about the top 5 trainers, which is a little bit controversial because my list differs. Top 5 Pokemon in base set. Number 5 for me is Electrode. Electrode is in the top 5 simply because it allows an archetype to exist. It allows those all-in decks to exist. Electrode Zapdos, Electrode Dugtrio, Electrode Arcanine. Not the best decks. Again, all-in decks, we went over it. I'm not a fan, but Electrode allows them to exist, so I'll give it a spot in the top just because it does that. Number 4, Chansey. Chansey is actually really interesting in the sense that that card could be in the top 5 all the way up to the last Neo set. Chansey was Chansey was the theme of my 2002 World Championship deck. I won Worlds with Chansey all those years later. That base set card is still great. Funny story about that is actually the rules changed. We got some translations from Japan that actually showed my Metal Chansey deck wouldn't work the way it did back then with proper translations, but we'll get in that when we get to the Neo videos. Chansey is just a 120 hit point basic, 1 retreat cost, buys you time. You know, the worst thing that could happen in a Pokemon game is you draw a bad hand and you can't do anything. Chansey allows you the turns to draw Professor Oak, Comp Search, Bill, whatever you need to get out of the pickle. And that's huge. Just being able to win a game you would have normally lost, you would have got steamrolled. Chansey lets you get back into it just by buying time. Number 3, Doduo. It's the Hitmonchan counter. Hitmonchan is going to end up being number 1. It's the Hitmonchan counter. It's all we got. Farfetch'd and Doduo is all we got for Hitmonchan. There's nothing else that really in the thing set that can compete with that card. So it automatically gets a spot in the top 3 just because it deals with number 1. Number 2, Electabuzz. If they don't have a Hitmonchan for whatever reason, your opponent's asleep at the switch and they just don't play Hitmonchan in their deck, Electabuzz steamrolls pretty much every Pokemon in base set. 2 energy, 40, or even 30. Thundershock, 10 in paralysis, just constant pressure. Damage. If you're not countering that, you're going to lose. There's no card other than Hitmonchan or some other fighting Pokemon that can hold the candle to the DPS of Electabuzz. Number 1, Hitmonchan. For all the reasons I described, 1 energy 20, it's fast, it's 70 hit points, and it counters number 2 Electabuzz. If they don't have fighting resistance, Hitmonchan is just, nothing goes toe-to-toe with it. Number 1, Hitmonchan. Let's talk about the top 5 trainers. That's a little bit different. Number 5 for me is Gust of Wind. The funny thing about Gust of Wind is growing up, they had all these magazines and stuff, and it was constantly rated, like Beckett, Pojo, and they would do rankings like this. And Gust of Wind was very frequently number 1. They had the joke that they would call it Gust of Wind, which I thought was funny. The problem with Gust of Wind, I'm not going to say there's a problem because it's in the top 5, but the overrating of Gust of Wind comes from that we were playing the game wrong back in the day. And we see it 20 years later. In the day, we played Haymaker all the way up to the gym sets. Just Hitmonchan, Electabuzz, Gust, Oak, plus power, 5 Oaks a turn, go through your deck. You can't do that anymore. We've learned how to play the game correctly as we've gotten older. And Pokemon old formats are more of a resource management game. It's going to come down to who has the most resources left at the end. And when you're oaking away stuff turn 1, turn 2, you're never going to beat a competent player that kept their resources. And they're going to deck you out. They're going to just have stuff they need. You don't need to go super, super fast. It's 6 prizes. There's no VMAXs or tag teams where you're drawing 3 prizes a turn. You got to knock out 6 things. You got to do multiple hits to knock out 1 thing. It's going to be a long, drawn-out game. And speeding through your deck and wasting all your resources is a great way to lose. And we learned that. And it becomes even more apparent in Jungle when we talk about that next week. It's not just Gust, kill. That's not, we played it like that incorrectly as kids. It's not like that anymore. But Gust of Wind is still a great card. It still puts you in that spot. Like I said, rock, paper, scissors. You want to have this against that at all times. Gust of Wind gets you in that spot. If you've got a go duel against Electabuzz, you gust up the Hitmonchan. You're up in your spot. It puts you in the driver's seat, essentially. And the reason it's better than a card like Switch, higher ranked than a Switch, which would also do the same thing, is because it allows you to get some knockouts that you wouldn't have normally got. You've got 2 prizes left, 1 prize left. Gust of Wind is going to get you those last couple prizes a certain percentage of the time, which is huge. Number 4, energy removal. This card is broken. They don't even have anything like this in modern Pokemon. They have it on a coin flip because it's so good. They have Team Yell Grunt, which is a supporter. You can play 1 a turn, and it returns it. Does it return it to their hand or shuffle? I think it returns it to their hand. But you can't just have a card that removes an energy as a trainer card. Just play it as much as you want, and it's gone. It's too good. It's so good. Now you're probably thinking, this is number 4? Yeah, because there's some other pretty busted stuff up there too. But the entire idea of energy removal really is pretty bad for the game. There's been debates throughout time as to what the worst cards for the game were, and a lot of people correctly say energy removal and super energy removal. And it's true. All of these cards that you would love to play, Charizard, Venusaur, Ninetales, they become unplayable because energy removal. You know, you can build and build. I got my first energy on my Charizard. I got my second. I got my third. I know he's been thunder punching and jabbing me all game, but next turn I got him. Energy removal. That dream is dead. And that it's really frustrating for new players. Let's say you're a new player coming in the game and you have your fun deck and somebody's just removing your energy every single turn and item finding it and super energy removing, you're going to have a bad time. So these cards are bad for the game back then, but they're incredibly powerful, so they're going to make the list. I mean, I don't control that. So, number 4, energy removal, insanely good card. Number 3, super energy removal. Same thing as energy removal, same concept, except it removes 2 energy while you remove 1 of your own. A lot of people put this at number 1, but, you have to draw into them, so I'm going to put the draw cards higher than those. Number 2, Professor Oak. This is another contender for number 1. A lot of people would have Professor Oak at number 1. Discard your hand and draw 7 cards. This doesn't exist in any other card game. One of my big pet peeves growing up was people would play Magic the Gathering, they would play Yu-Gi-Oh! And they would say, Alex, Chuck, you got to get into Magic. It's so much more skill. The prizes are better. It's so much more competitive. And the thing that really stuck out to me was the skill part. When people tell me Magic the Gathering had more skill than Pokemon, I would just, it would blow up my brain. Because the thing about skill is you have a strategy in your deck. You have a theme. And the skill is putting that theme into practice. Having that strategy come out against your opponent and then using it to beat them. In Pokemon, with Bill, Comp Surge, Oak, just being able to go through your deck, you're always going to accomplish your plan. I shouldn't say always, but for the most part, you're going to just, whatever your plan was for this deck, it's going to come to fruition. It's going to happen. In Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, things that draw cards are astronomically expensive. They use so much of your turn. I think in Yu-Gi-Oh! Their big draw card was draw 2, and you can only play one of it in your deck. In Magic, I remember when I played, there was like this card called Deep Analysis. It was like 4 mana, draw 2, just some crazy amount of mana. Like, you can't go through your deck in Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or stuff like that like you can in Pokemon. In Pokemon, if you really want to, just go through your entire deck turn 1. You're going to lose the game because you won't be able to draw a card, but you can just Oak, 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 Bill, 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 Item Finder, Oak, Comp Search, Oak. Go through all 60 cards right there. And being able to do that just makes your plans come true. If you want to have a Hitmonchan out, if you want to have a Doduo out, you're going to just get it. You know, you're going to play an Oak, you're going to play a Comp Search, you're going to just get that card. You're not going to get unlucky ever. You're not going to, oh man, I didn't draw that card like you would in Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh! You're going to just get it. Your plan is going to happen. Whatever's in here is going to get to here. And that's what I love about Pokemon. Oak, discarding 7. Discarding and drawing 7 doesn't exist in any other game because it's such a powerful thing. It really does just, you know, let you do whatever you want. And that probably is not the intention for other games. It's not the intention anymore for Pokemon because they realized that was probably too much. Now, discard and draw 7 is a supporter card, which can play 1 a turn. But they are starting to come back with that theme of, you know, going through your deck. They had things like Dedenne, Crobat, and I really like to see a game where you can just go through your deck and draw a bunch of cards and come up with your plan and have it come to fruition, as opposed to just, you know, in another trading card game, if the thing you play 4 of, if all 4 of those are in the bottom half of your deck, you're just never going to see it the entire game, and your plan is kaput. So number 2, Professor Oak. Now I know what you're thinking. Discard and draw 7. How could something possibly be better than that? My number 1 card for trainers in base set is Item Finder. This is where Jason will debate me. Games are decided in base set based on where you draw your item finders. Sequencing. If you have 3 item finders in your opening hand, you are most likely going to lose. If your item finders are in the bottom of your deck, you are most likely going to win. Games simply come down to who has their item finders left, and it's like this all the way till the gym series. The game is decided by who has their item finders left at the end of the game. So how could that not just be the number 1 card? Item Finder can be your Professor Oak. Item Finder can be your energy removal. Item Finder can be your scoop up, your gust of wind, your switch, whatever. 4 times. And it's just incredible to be able to get an item back. A trainer back. Computer search is different in the sense that computer search gets something from your deck that you would have drawn eventually. Computer search is not on par with item finder in the sense that you're taking a card out of your deck that you would have drawn at some point while also lowering your deck. Item finder is getting something that you would have never seen again. And it makes it so much better than computer search. It just makes the card absolutely broken. So good to the point where it became like, I think they were called ace specs or something, where you can only play 1 of in your deck. You know, comp search, item finder came back as these things. Whereas, you know, Oak still comes back as the porter forms where you can play 4 of it in your deck. Because just being able to get a trainer back from your discard pile has always been a completely broken nuts concept, because it could be anything. It could be anything you played, and that's just super, super, super good. Games literally come down to, I cannot stress this enough, games come down to who has their item finders left. Games don't come down to who has their Oaks left. It comes down to who has their item finders left. So for that, item finder, number 1 trainer in base set. So yeah, that's my base set strategy. Let's talk about how this is going to work. I am going to try and do an episode every single week. This was the base set episode. The format's going to look like this. Episode 1, base set. Episode 1A, I'm going to stream games of base set. I got my little webcam now on my computer. I'm going to play on TCG 1 against guys like Jason. And I'm going to stream the games of base set only. not stream. I'm going to record the videos, and you guys can watch the videos and see how the game's played out. I'm going to try and upload another episode every week. Like week 2 will be jungle, and then I'll add jungle to base set, do the stream, do a top 5 list now with jungle added, trainers with jungle added, even though there's only one trainer in jungle. We'll do it with fossil, we'll do it with rocket, all the way to vivid voltage. We're going to spend the whole year just adding sets, formats. I'm going to try and have guests on the show. I am technologically impaired. I won't even be doing the editing on this video because I'll learn it eventually, but I'm going to have my 13-year-old stepson who has shown me how to do Streamlabs and stuff like that. Get it done on this one. Eventually to the point, I hope I'll be able to just, point to the sky and a Charizard comes riding out on a rocket ship on the screen for you guys. That's my goal, is to be able to do that kind of stuff. But for now, in case you can't tell, I was really nervous on this stream. I was shaking a little bit. My voice was changing. I had a little bit of dead air a couple times there. I'm just like, And just really want to thank you guys for coming out for this. Twice in this video, the video just randomly stopped recording. I guess space on the phone or length of the video or whatever. And I'm going to have to edit that in. So it's going to get better. The technology will get better. The pop-ups of the cards will get better. Bear with me. The videos will get shorter. I'm going to have maximum 20 minutes on the next couple because I got my intro out of the way and I don't want to bore you guys with 40-minute videos. If you watch this from beginning to end, you are a saint, but I don't expect many people to not fast forward through this. But, when I posted that I was going to make this content on Facebook, I did it on 2 different groups. And within 24 hours, I received 200 likes on one of them, 100 on another. And without even having a video up yet, over 100 YouTube subscribers, which is just insane. It's amazing that there's so many of you out there that know who I am, care who I am, care about the old formats and stuff, and just really hits here. I really appreciate it. So look forward to some good stuff coming for you guys. I hope I can do it for you. So this is a good time to end the video. Thank you again for everything. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down. I don't know. Just do something to show that you're here. And if you got any input, hit me up. Send me a message on Instagram, Twitter. I don't know. Can you message people on YouTube? Leave something in the comments. If you have any other concerns about base set or want to read more about it, Jason has an amazing WordPress blog site where he goes over all the old formats, including base set only. I'll link that WordPress in the description. But check that out if you want some exact deck lists on how he does base set and a little bit more in-depth. Because, he's been writing that for a couple years now. This is just, for me, a quick YouTube video from here. Stay tuned for future content. I'm going to bring you some good stuff. We're going to have some more fun. I'm going to be funnier, less nervous. Like I said, we're going to have people on the show. I'm going to maybe grill them a little bit. Good stuff coming in the future. Thanks for watching. Champions Chat, everybody. I appreciate it.